So in the last LED video, we showed you how we researched a little bit of leveraging LED strips and using a WLED controller and the software just to learn more about these kinds of lights. We tried 12-volt lights and 5-volt lights. And in the end, what I found was using a string of pixels that look a little bit like Christmas lights, but that are programmable, were probably going to be the best setup for us. Let me show you how we set these up. And this next installment is really all about the assembly of the tracks that we're going to use for our house. Check it out. So months have probably gone by since the earlier part of this video, and I've been doing a lot of playing and practicing to see how could I best mount these WLED lights in a way that I thought would work effectively for the house. So you can see up here very briefly I have a piece of J channel. It actually was it's what's used to hold vinyl siding together on a house. I got this piece because it's 1.25 inches thick, and what's great about this is it slides very easily into the soffit. This testing has worked. My placement of the LEDs works. They're 2.5 inches apart. I just have one strand of 50 LED, smart LED addressable ones, and I've got my little dig quad sitting down on the ground. That's what that wire is going to. But the nice thing is, you know, I can dim these lights, I can make them brighter. You might be able to see them there in the light. It's not easy. I can turn them any color I want. And the beauty of this is I can also do things like program a mural accent that lights up this painting blue and some accent lights of white on the edges. I can do a Mardi Gras theme, which changes colors with the classic Mardi Gras or Carnival colors. If I decide 4th of July I'd like to do something, I can do red, white, and blue bands that can move around the house, and you know, all of these can be configured in almost any way possible. At Christmas time, I can set them up to twinkle with the classic Christmas colors. The holiday season, I might want to do a candy cane, red and white moving stripes kind of around the house. I can do these decorative bursts of white and blue that sort of burst along the edge of the whole strand. And I'm doing fireworks. You might be able to see it's a little white shoot thing goes up and then it sort of explodes out into colors like a firework would. So I am finally at a stage where I believe my testing is done and it's now time to go ahead and do this work. So I went and bought a bunch of that J channel. Let me show you how we're going to prep that. We're going to build a little jig to make it very easy to drill all these holes and start doing this work. I'll share the cost and links for all this when we're done, because at the end of the day, if I would have hired somebody like Jellyfish to come out to the house to do this, it would have been between $4,000 and $8,000. I will be into this for about $700. That's it. And that's to do the entire perimeter of the house, all of the power supplies, all the wiring, all the addressable LEDs, the dig quad and the small ESP32s that we've programmed, and obviously the WLED software, which is free. But this is the kind of thing that is truly going to make a difference here. So let me turn these off. I'll go back over to the table and we'll start showing how we prep all of these J channel strips. All right, so let me show you what this looks like. This is sort of my J channel right here. You can see it's 1.25 inches tall, and that allows me to put my drill holes in the lower side. So when this is tucked into the soffit, the light bulb's aimed down. We wanted that instead of aiming outward because we like the way it casts light down on the house. We can do a lot of accent lighting that way. Now, to drill these, to make this a little easier, we're going to cut a couple of pieces of wood and screw them together so that when we're drilling these, we can pop each of these on here. We'll have lines on the wood that tell us exactly where we drill, and then we can just start running this through with our drill press because we're going to do a lot of these. These pieces are 12 feet long, and I am actually going to cut all of them to 10 feet 4 inches. And I'm doing that because to make this easy, I want every one of these pieces to contain one string of LEDs. Obviously at the ends and the corners of the house I may have a difference, but that will allow me at least to, if I ever have a problem down the road, I can disconnect the wires on each end, slide this right out of the soffit, take it down, do any repairs I might need to, whether it's a piece of wire that needs to be repaired, or heck, even if an entire string of those lights go out, it'd be real easy to just plug a new one in, pop them into these holes, slide that right back in place, and connect the wires at each end. So that is the goal. Have these scrap pieces here. I'll be making one of these that is a full 8 feet long, and I'm cutting some plywood to sort of work like this and be the base of this jig. So I've got this marked right here. We've got each of the little strips marked, and we're now going to cut them. All right, let's see how we do with my very dull saw blade here. It is time for a new blade. That sucker is dull. Let's do just that. All right, new blade. Let's go. All right, with all these pieces trimmed, I'm now just going to go ahead and countersink some holes in each of these little strips. We're going to attach those to our 1x2. That's going to make our jig. Let me just go ahead and run through these real quick. Those done on one side. Let's get them all done now on the other side as well. All right, just gonna get some sandpaper, clean this up a little bit so everything's nice and smooth while I'm sliding the pieces of trim on and off of these. Don't want to get a splinter when I'm doing it, and I'm gonna be doing a lot of them. Now for our jig, we're just gonna start marking this every 2.5 inches. We've got a mark every 2.5 inches, and now we're just gonna go ahead and carry them forward. Now, I've done some experimenting with these. In order to get the pixels to be a little bit flexible, 2.5 inches is about the right distance. You could also do 2. 3 was too far. The lights did not, the lights wires were pulled a little too tight, and you had to get them very lined up in order for 3 inches between each pixel to work. So I've opted for 2.5, which I think is a good look to it. All right, so with that, our jig is just about made. We're gonna pull the drill press out and we'll start getting some of these drilled. All right, with our jig made, it's time to start getting some of our J channels. This is it. I bought a whole case of these. There's 24, yeah, 24 in a pack. I probably need about 32, so I'm gonna have plenty of extra. But because I got a special color, I had to order them by the case. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull a number of these guys out of here, and we will begin our drilling. Let me show you how we line all this up and we'll get started drilling. When this tucks up into the ceiling, this slides right into our soffit lip. I don't even have to screw these in, it's amazing. So that's gonna sit right in there. So if I think about this, I have to decide on the direction of data flow. That's gonna be important because if I want my lights to travel this direction, the data flow wire starts here and sends the signal down the track along the roof line. So, because I'm taking this and I'm cutting about 1.75 feet off of each one, I don't want to waste my time drilling holes where I don't need them. So let's think about that. If we're up along the roof, we're going to start from this left side. And away we go. Slide this guy right in here. Once that's pushed all the way in, it's just now a matter of drilling holes right in the center of this piece at every green line. Just gonna take this now, I'm holding this tight up against it, and real simple, you wanna drill this very lightly. What you don't wanna do is end up with a lot of pieces you have to sand or smooth out on here. And then if one gets caught on this, I just use my thumb and flip it off of there. All right, so let's go ahead and start putting one of these in, just kind of see how it goes. And we want to make sure we follow the right direction of the data flow. Now you just want to put this in the same order in all of the channels. So for example, I'm starting from the male plug and traveling toward the female end. I'm always doing that in the same direction so that I don't have a problem where I can't communicate down the lines of LEDs. So let me kind of zoom in, I'll show you what this looks like. I'm just sliding each one of these right into the slot in each of these LEDs has a small ridge and a clip on it. That clip is what snaps right onto this piece of J channel. All right, so the first thing I'm doing is I just sort of take my fingers and I pinch any of these little drill shreds off of here. And then you just take this and you sort of lift up on the lip, slide this little guy in here, and snap it. And you'll see it'll snap right in place there. We'll do it again here. There's the snap. Again, there's the snap. You don't want to push them out too far. You'll see right on the light bulb there's actually a ridge and then a little snap edge. So pop it in there. In some cases, if you drill a little too close to this edge, you might have to lift up on that a bit just to get it past there. I'll put my thumb behind it a little bit. There we go. It just snapped. Now the reason we use big track like this is I still have enough room to tuck a power cord, a power injection cord right behind all these lights, which we will do on every one of these. And there you go. You can kind of see just how that looks. Very nice. All right, so we have 5 of these prepared, and I've also tucked in a power cord to inject power through each of these. It's tucked in behind all of these. I need to get some more of that, but what I now want to do is I want to just test each one before I go mount them up on the house. So I have my DigQuad over here, and it's just plugged into a little tiny house adapter, so it'll only power 2 of these if I were to run them concurrently. So for example, if I were to put this guy and connect it up to the next one, now I'd have to turn it around, it would only light it about halfway. So I'm just going to plug each one in just to make sure that I am all good and that my wiring is good and nothing got damaged as I was installing these. So I think I'll probably put these aside, and tomorrow I'll do another 50 feet or so, and I'll run to Home Depot and get a little bit more power injection wire so I can run that power injection on each of these. And you'll notice on the end here, I basically just marked my positive and negative on these, left a little extra, and I'll tie those directly into this and directly to the power supply. That way I'm not relying on these very thin gauge wires inside the LED strips to power this entire thing. You will get power loss over the length of the wire, and ultimately they will dim out. You'd see them start at white, and then halfway through the second strand they would start to go to a yellowish color.